President Trump previewing plans to reform policing at a Dallas roundtable yesterday.
We're working to finalize an executive order that will encourage police departments nationwide to meet the most current professional standards for the use of force, including tactics for de-escalation.
Our next guest spoke at that event and praised the president for actions already taken for criminal justice reform. Joining me now is Jack Brewer. He's the spokesman for the National Association of Police Athletic Leagues. He also speaks to prisoners. He goes into the prisons. He goes on missions trips down in Haiti, opened up orphanages down there. He works with kids and youth. Jack, you're just a stand-up guy, and you and I are friends. And I wanted to talk to you because I know you sat you went to Dallas. You sat at that table with the president. What was discussed?
Yeah, it was a holistic approach. I was very pleased with what the White House said. They came out and, racism and racial disparities across the board, oppression, it is a holistic approach. You have to take on the challenges of healthcare and criminal justice and education. And I think that's what the White House is trying to do. Waiting to see the final details of the plan. But I can tell you that the spirit was there, and, no one was running from the realities that we face today in America. Racial disparities and the oppressed in certain communities really need some systematic changes.
I know that you're absolutely right, because what happened to George was just horrific. What do the prisoners tell you when you go in and you teach those classes?
Man, I tell you, it's a humbling experience, and it's one that, and I tell the guys every time I walk in, I think I get more out of it than they do, because you see guys that used to be hopeless, and now because of policies like the First Step Act, and because of programmings like companies like the Geo Group that are doing, putting real programming into these prisons so these guys can get out and be, members of society again, learn skills that no one ever taught them. The real issue behind a lot of these racial disparities, Ainsley, it goes back to fatherlessness. There's so many that don't have fathers, and, you're 5 times more likely to go to prison or have a run-in with law enforcement if you don't have a father in the home. And so, I'm really big on trying to promote fatherhood and getting rid of those systematic things that discourage folks from building that family unit. And I think that's important. I told the president that yesterday, and it was well received.
That's wonderful. So you also, I forgot to mention, you're an NFL player, a former NFL player, very loved and very famous. You played in Minnesota for the Vikings. And let's talk about that state, because Minnesota, the legislature there, they are going to have a special session to consider police reform. And then if you look at Minneapolis, where they have that veto-free push to dismantle the police force, which hasn't happened yet, but it's well on its way. What are your thoughts?
I don't like where it's going. I would like to see the governor and the mayor take a harder stand. You talk about oppression, and when you start looking at folks defunding police departments, the oppressed are the ones that are going to be the most hurt, and no one talks about that. We have, as Americans, oppression can't be politicized. We have to have people on both sides of the aisle stand up for the oppressed, and that means standing up for law enforcement. We have to get rid of all the policies that give immunity to these police officers that do bad things. They should have to go right in front of a court of law right away, like every other citizen. But for all the great American police officers, the men and women of God who are out there protecting and serving, those folks are the ones that are going to uplift the oppressed. They're going to protect the oppressed. And so I think we need to turn this conversation and stop being so divisive.
Okay. Good points. Thanks so much, Jack. Good to see you.
God bless you. God bless you.
God bless you, too. You're amazing.